Independent National Electoral Commission has announced plans to release supplementary regulations to clarify Section 65 of the Electoral Act 2022, which allows for the review of election results made under duress or contrary to the law. INEC Chairman Prof. Mahmood Yakubu made this known during a meeting with Resident Electoral Commissioners in Abuja. Yakubu expressed concern over the varied interpretations of the section and said the new guidelines will provide clarity ahead of upcoming elections. He also directed RECs to submit plans to decongest large polling units and improve voter access. The chairman emphasized that RECs must not wait for general elections to begin preparations and urged them to prioritize staff training, logistics planning, and stakeholder engagement. He reminded them of their role in ensuring credible elections at the state level. Yakubu also confirmed that INEC has scheduled 5 major elections over the next year, including by-elections in 12 states and governorship polls in Anambra, Ekiti, and Osun. Continuous voter registration will resume nationwide in August, with early registration beginning in Anambra next week. Honorable Olaka, what do you make of this move by INEC?
All right. INEC Nigeria have a lot of guidelines and rules. That has never been the problem of the Nigerian people. The problem of the Nigerian people through various agencies and institutions oftentimes have been the implementation. And so the guidelines that Mahmood is talking about, as far as I'm concerned, we only add up to a number of guidelines, policies, and rules we have in Nigeria. That's all I can see. Ready to translate what is in the guideline into reality? Or is it that when it gets to the time of the elections, especially the obstacle election and other by-elections that are coming, scripts that have been written will be announced by returning officers and all of that? You know? So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm very cold, personally. And I want to believe that a lot of other Nigerians are cool towards what INEC will do. INEC is yet to tell or prove to Nigerians that they are indeed, they could be a reflection of what their name or what they are established to do, independent. Until they start acting independently and giving Nigeria the reason for the establishment of such a body. Continuous review of policies and guidelines. For me, I'm not sure it's making any impact. So I'm very cold. I'm not having any reason to celebrate whatever INEC is doing now. We will start celebrating INEC when INEC can give us a true reflection of what we had in 2023 presidential election that was very obvious in every polling unit until an otherwise was announced and subsequently affirmed by the Supreme Court.
All right, very well. Victor Nietzsche, what do you make of this move by INEC?
I think I share his feeling too, similar feeling I have. Yeah, I mean, what he has said is true. And one thing I think I want to point out is something he said about how people misinterpret certain laws. And I think is intentional by most, political actors in Nigeria, where certain ambiguous laws are made that is not clearly defined, that makes it easy for them to manipulate, especially during court cases. When you get to court and they tell you, but these things said so. And we as Nigerians have not taken our time to look at some of these laws and question our legislator. Why is this not clear? Why do we have ambiguity in this area? Why are we not certain as to what happens when this person or this kind of issue happens? And one of the ways we can contribute as citizens is to diligently go through some of these laws and ensure that the laws are clearly stating consequences of actions and guidelines of what and how things should be done. When we do that, this is during this phase where Mahmood is talking and INEC is talking. Just like he said, there are a lot of laws, guidelines that are there that are not even active, that we've not implemented, that might even at some point would have helped, some certain cases we had, but because people do not know and have not focused on these areas, it's not been active. So aside this, which Mahmood is saying and doing, which of course is doing his function as chairman of INEC, talking to his recs and all of that, Nigerians should also gear up. Nigerians should also sit up. Nigerians should also inform themselves, equip themselves to the point that it will become really difficult. We've seen the mistakes that were made in the last election where the results were called and in a lot of places seem not to reflect to the actual result that was gotten from these centers. What are the steps that can be taken by the people to ensure that this kind of mistakes does not repeat itself constitutionally? Because if whatever you do, if it's not backed by the constitution or by the laws or guidelines that establish INEC, it's not going to be accepted in the court of law. So let's find ways that our responsibility as citizens to hold government and agencies accountable can be legal and formal, so that when we do it, they will not say this is not in the guideline. Remember when we did, they said some of the results were not sent via the beavers, and they said no, the law hasn't said that it must be done that way. So these are the things that we should focus on. There are lacunas. So if we want a credible election or a near credible election, we should start now asking INEC this question. Just like, it came as a rumor or as a news or speculation that INEC Chairman said that people can vote without their PVCs or so. Nobody has sat down to say, what exactly do you mean by this? What legalized this? And is it true or not? We are quiet. We have said it in quote briefly, it has gone. You will see that
it will come back.
It will come back, and when it will come back, they tell you, but in 2005 we said it. Remember, so month we said INEC issued a publication that this happened. So these are the things we need to start following up from now, so we know how to mitigate and reduce the irregularities that happens during the election. What do we do as a people, as citizens, to ensure that, should INEC give us a virtual counting system like they do in the US, that we can see when the votes are counted in real time, that whatever happens, if the difference in that result is different from what is announced, we know that we cannot accept it because it is official. So these are the things we need to start. Otherwise, all of these things he's saying will come and go, and when election comes, we think going to vote alone will give us a credible election, and it won't work. So our responsibility as citizens is to follow up the laws, regulation and guidelines of INEC, and try to ensure we point out the things that we know will be difficult, or make it difficult for us to have credible election. I think that's the right way to go.
So for both of you, you are of the opinion that there is trust deficit between the Nigerian masses or the voters, as it were,
Absolutely.
and INEC as the regulatory body.
Absolutely.
And that trust deficit means that whatever INEC is saying, so far whatever they have said in the past, they've not matched it with actions that appear to translate what they are saying.
Indeed.
And then because of that, even though INEC is trying to make some reforms in that light, the lack of trust is making you not believe that something good can come out of Nazareth, if I may use that.
Until they act otherwise.
Until
they translate, they give Nigeria what Nigeria is expecting. Not that I participate. In fact, like for instance, you go to a church and then we are not even much. Let's say we're about 50 in the church, and I know that the offering I gave alone, for instance, is about 20,000 naira. Then the other persons also went and dropped, and then at the end of service, the head usher comes to tell us that all that we got in an offering was 12,000 naira. When I am aware that the offering I dropped alone was a bundle of 20,000 naira, then other members of the church, let's assume it's only 3 other persons, but I actually saw when we all danced and we were dropping. So even if everybody had dropped 50 naira, I alone had dropped on 20,000 naira. Then the head usher at the end of service counted the whole offering and then announced that the offering that was generated today in church is 12,000 naira. What happened to my 20,000? That's what INEC had been doing to Nigerians, and that's why there's loss of confidence and trust in them. Right. So until they give us real-time results.
So probably we use these by-elections to
begin to see
what the upcoming Anambra state election
and
all that will be a litmus test
for Nigerians to see what they can do in 2027.
All right, very well. Thank you so much, Honorable Olaka, for coming on Blow Out. It's a pleasure having you.
It's a pleasure having you.
And thank you also, Victor Eniche. It's a pleasure
having you
today. Thank you so much for coming.